Well, we're back with the second game preview this week. Obviously, the USC game canceled due to COVID issues within the Trojans program. Less than a half an hour after that game was canceled, Colorado announces that San Diego State's coming to Boulder, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard kickoff at Folsom Fields on the Pac-12 network. I know, Brian, there's a lot of frustration out there because a lot of people don't have the Pac-12 network, but until we have a working vaccine in this country, it's kind of like you got to lower your expectations a little bit and just take what you can get.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I tweeted that out last night, and I was just kind of getting annoyed watching all the people complain. And I get it. The Pac-12 network isn't available to everybody, and it's frustrating. But wouldn't you rather have the Buffs playing on the Pac-12 network than not playing this weekend? There's a lot of teams that don't get to play, and it's not on the ideal channel, but the Buffs get to play this weekend, as far as we know. I mean, they got to get through a couple more days of testing, but right now they're on track to play, and that's better than most teams. Not most, but that's better than some team situation right now.
Anybody that has a laptop and working internet or a tablet, they can get the Pac-12 network. Fubo TV, they have a free 3-day trial right now. Sling TV has a Black Friday special going on. And you might want to invest on that for men's basketball games as well. They've got 5 games between December 2nd and December 16th. All 5 of those games are going to be on the Pac-12 network. I get it. The Pac-12 network is an epic failure. Larry Scott deserves a lot of criticism there, but you can get the Pac-12 network if you want to see CU play on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. There's ways to go out there and get it done, and again, be happy that you have the opportunity to sign up for a free trial membership somewhere to watch the Buffs, because the alternative is them not playing at all. And it's much better than a situation like ASU that's canceled 3 weeks in a row, or USC that has to cancel. CSU and Air Force had to cancel this week, so it's not ideal, and it is what it is this year, and the Buffs get to play, so that's a good thing.
San Diego State is 5-1 against Pac-12 teams since 2016. That includes wins over a couple ranked teams in the conference: Stanford in 2017, Arizona State in 2018. This season, they're 3-2. They've lost games against San Jose State and Nevada. They had 4 starters out against Nevada in their most recent game. Their quarterback, Lucas Johnson, he's been dealing with a hamstring injury, but it sounds like he's going to remain their starter. Carson Baker also will be getting opportunities out there as well. So their quarterback situation is a little bit up in the air. What are just your overall thoughts on this San Diego State team?
Yeah, I watched a lot of their last game against Nevada, and I mean, that game ended with them 5 yards away from the end zone of winning that game, and Lucas Johnson actually made a really bad pass on 3rd down, had a wide open receiver where they could have won that game. So, I mean, they were right there knocking on the door. Both teams they've lost to are undefeated. And another thing, you mentioned 5-1 against the Pac-12, 19 straight games they've held opponents to 28 points or less. So, if CU thinks they're going to keep scoring 41 points a game, that's not going to be easy. And the last time they allowed more than 28 points in regulation was the 2018 opener against Stanford. So it's been like 30 games since they've given up 30 points in regulation. So this team's really good. Actually, Adam, I don't know your thoughts, but watching San Diego State a little bit last night, they remind me of Utah in that they may not play exactly the same schemes and all that, but they're really built on strong defense and a running game, and that's kind of what we've seen out of Utah the last few years. And I think the San Diego State team is going to be really tough.
Yeah, defensively, they're really solid. Yeah, Utah's the only – it's funny you compared them to Utah. Utah is the only team that has a longer streak in terms of not allowing that many points in the country.
Yeah.
So they've been rock steady on that side of the ball. Brady Hoke, this is his second stint as the Aztecs head coach. He won 9 games there in 2010. That got him the head coaching gig at Michigan. And Rocky Long really took the baton there at San Diego State. They went to 9 straight bowl games between 2011 and 2019. He retired as a head coach, saying that he didn't like all the things that head coaches have to do. And you hear that a lot from guys that are head coaches for the first time. They miss football because there's so many other things on their plate. So he's now the defensive coordinator at New Mexico, where he's able just to, coach football and not have to deal with all the responsibilities of a head coach. But Brian, when we talked about the USC matchup, I didn't like that matchup because USC's strength offensively is their passing game, and CU's weakness defensively has been their pass coverage. But this is a better matchup for CU. You compare them to Utah, maybe a little bit like Stanford as well, right? In terms of the fact that they want to have a power running attack and they play good defense. And so I like this matchup a lot better for CU.
Yeah, the one thing where I say they're different from Stanford and more like Utah is that, especially if it's Lucas Johnson playing quarterback, is he's more that mobile quarterback that can hurt you with the run, whereas Stanford doesn't have that. Obviously, we've seen it with Utah, with Tyler Huntley the last few years. Lucas Johnson can do a little of both. He actually made some nice passes against Nevada the other day too. So, but his thing has always been staying healthy, and he really kind of limped through the end of that Nevada game, and we'll see how healthy he is this week. One advantage, Adam, is that according to reports, San Diego State's been preparing for the Buffs for a few days. Well, the Buffs didn't have that luxury because they had to prepare for USC up until last night. I'd be surprised if Carl Durrell got any sleep last night because I imagine that he's been cramming on San Diego State. So there might be a little bit of an advantage there for San Diego State. They've had a few days to actually get ready for this.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. You're going to have to cram a little bit more than you normally would like to. But when USC announced that positive test, San Diego State quickly became the plan B. Obviously, Rick George in the athletic department weren't talking about that, but you've come to find out that they thought this was a real possibility. So you've got a big football staff. I'm sure some of those quality control coaches were starting to do some legwork on San Diego State just in case, right? You got to assume maybe not a complete game plan, but it's not like last night was the first time they started looking at San Diego State.
Right, I agree with you on that. It's just more of that, since about Tuesday, San Diego State's been able to focus only on Colorado, knowing that was a possibility and had nobody else in front of them, whereas Colorado couldn't shift its focus fully to San Diego State until late last night. So, and the Buffs didn't get on the field until today and be able to work on San Diego State with their players. So, yeah, I agree with you that there's certainly quality control people, things like that have been able to work on San Diego State, and I'll use that as a segue, Adam, for something we were just talking about. Speaking of quality control, one of the guys for CU on defense is Brian Cook, who was the primary recruiter at Georgia Tech to bring in Lucas Johnson, who is now San Diego State's quarterback. And Brian Cook was actually the quarterback's coach at Georgia Tech for Johnson's first year there, and went back to Georgia Tech in 2018 when Johnson was still there. So he knows that quarterback pretty well. I imagine that he's going to be pretty valuable to the Buffs this weekend.
There's a couple familiar faces on the other sideline. San Diego State, their running backs coach is Demetrius Sumler, who is a running back at CU, and they
quarterbacks coach.
He's the quarterbacks coach. Okay, gotcha.
Cornerbacks.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Gary Bernardi is an offensive analyst. I went to his Twitter account, just curious what's going on in Gary Bernardi's life. He's only had like 5 tweets since he left CU. And they're all links to like horse racing podcasts. So I don't know what's going on with him.
Well, I like Gary. I'm not going to say anything bad about Gary. I think he's a better football coach than CU fans want to admit. But
technology is not his strong suit.
Technology is not his strong suit. But he's a good man, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed getting to know him when he was here. Glad to see that he's at San Diego State and hopefully having some success there. I know Buff fans were very happy to see him go, but he's a good guy, good football man. But you're right, technology not his strong suit, and I won't be checking on the horse racing podcast.
Yeah, he was kind of last of the Mohicans. He was an overhead projector with this offensive line group, which is pretty awesome. But he had the strongest handshake I think I've encountered in my life. But yeah, no, he was a good guy. So no hard feelings there. CU has only played the Aztecs once before. That was in 2002. CU won that game 34-14 in Boulder. Kind of an interesting story here, Brian, is I was a senior in college then, and I was trying to get my foot in the door with sports journalism. So I actually was a publisher of a San Diego State website that year, and we grew it big enough. And I remember watching that game, and I reached out to my boss at the time and said, if the Colorado gig ever opens up, please keep me in mind. So I kind of watched it through a weird lens. I was covering San Diego State back then, but CU was my dream opportunity. And so, this happened on Thanksgiving, and you give thanks for things. And 17 and a half years ago, it just made me remember, how awesome it was to get this opportunity to cover CU. And it's been a great ride since.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, I know I'm glad to have you here, and Buff fans are as well. I have zero connection to San Diego State, so I have no stories whatsoever. I wasn't very thankful for last night, but I am thankful that that the Buffs are playing the game.
It's a beautiful campus. I don't know if you've ever been on their campus. It's probably top 5, top 10 that I've been on. I think Pepperdine, even CU, are going to be a little bit higher, but it's a pretty cool campus out there. So yeah, we saw Brendan Rice. He was on Instagram last night showing that he was already prepping. So I feel like it's a tough, to cram for an opponent, but I don't know at the end of the day if that's really going to affect the situation here. I guess we'll kind of transition into predictions. Obviously, I thought USC was a bad matchup for CU, was going to pick them to lose this game. But for the first time this year, Brian, I'm actually going to pick CU to win. I think they break that San Diego State streak, but don't, put up 41 points. I'm going to say Colorado wins this game 31-24.
Okay. I agree with you. I picked USC to win. I'm going to shift gears here and go Colorado. I do think that, San Diego State's strength on offense, it's a run game. That's been CU's strength on defense. I think CU has the advantage there. I just like what they've been doing in the run game, and I think they can do a pretty good job against this passing game. I like this San Diego State defense, though, so I think it's going to be hard for CU to score. I'm not going to go 30. I'm going to say San Diego State keeps that streak going, but I'm going to go Buffs 28-20.
Okay. Were you able to get your travel refunded out there to Los Angeles?
Well, in a way, yeah. They don't give the flight. They won't give me the money back, but I can use it over the next year. I can use it towards another flight. So that works for me. And hey, if the Buffs win this game, they're bowl eligible. So I might be able to use that money towards a flight to a bowl game. So we'll see.
What's their record right now with bowl eligibility on the line? We're apparently gonna end this video on a sour note, but it's a long streak, right?
It's 0-11. 11 straight losses with bowl eligibility on the line, and I think the Buffs have a better shot of breaking that than they did 24 hours ago when we thought they were playing USC.
Yeah, I'll never forget in 2018, Colorado's 5-0. They've got a 28-point lead on Oregon State, and you and I are in the press box talking about what bowl game they're going to. It was a foregone conclusion. There wasn't a chance in the world they weren't going to go to a bowl game. So hopefully we don't have to relive that again. And hopefully there's enough bowl games to where if Colorado is eligible, they can actually play in one.
Yeah, and I've told you this story before, but I remember talking to the Sun Bowl representatives. There was 2 of them that were there that day for the Oregon State game, and they were so excited about Steven Montez and the Buffs coming down potentially to the Sun Bowl, but they were worried that CU wasn't going to fall that far down to the Sun Bowl, and it turns out that CU didn't even get there. I actually felt worse for the Sun Bowl representatives than most people, just because they were so excited about the potential of Steven Montez coming to El Paso for a bowl game. But yeah, it quite a day. Not only that one, but that ASU game in 2017 where they're up by 10 going into the fourth quarter. They had a 10-point lead against USC last year in Folsom, where that wasn't for bowl eligibility, but if you win that game, then I think they get there. So, there's been so many chances this team has had to try to get there and hasn't done it. And it's a new coaching staff, new makeup of the team. Let's see if it changes this year.
For the first time, we're both picking the Buffs to win this week. We'll see if we can actually hit on a couple predictions. It's been pretty rough water so far in 2020 trying to predict things, but excited to be back in Folsom Field again. You find a way to get the Pac-12 network. You don't even have to pay for it. There's free trials out there, so it should be a fun afternoon at Folsom Field.
Yeah, looking forward to it.